Now I understand why it is that military service members, about 25% of them, are on food stamps. The days of cheap living, ladies and gentlemen, they are over, and they are not coming back. Hello, YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about how inflation continues to ravage the purchasing power of the average American. And not only that, it is robbing away literally the American dream from this new generation. And I know that people don't want to hear this, but this is the truth. It's only getting started. If you think that the last 2 or 3 years have been pretty rough, ladies and gentlemen, this is just the beginning, and therefore you need to seriously consider protecting what you have against what I like to call the inferno of inflation. And before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you all that there is a live stream this afternoon at 4 p.m. Alaska time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I remember telling you a while back that there will come a time where people will start getting very angry at the policies that have resulted in the impoverishing of the American people. It's like Thomas Jefferson said, I'm going to mess this up big time. But he pretty much said that one day your children will wake up on the sidewalk of the streets that their fathers pretty much built because bankers will have stolen everything from them. And that's exactly what's going on right now. I cannot afford to live, they say. Americans are getting emotional as the U.S. economy goes off the rails. Why am I talking about this? What's so important about this? We already know that many Americans are in despair, that many Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. They may not know where their next meal for their kids are coming from. The reason this is important, ladies and gentlemen, is because I believe that it's going to get a lot worse. The institutions that have been put up around us are doing their very best. The Federal Reserve, all of the 3-letter agencies, they're doing their very best to keep people from understanding exactly what's happening. When you tell a lie and you want to keep that lie alive, that it takes more and more lies on top of that just to keep people believing what you originally fed them? Well, the mainstream media is coming to that point. It's becoming extremely difficult for them, the mainstream media, to avoid the truth. Inflation is getting worse at the same time that many key sectors of our economy are slowing down. If you thought that the last couple of years were rough for the economy, just wait until you see what is coming next. The stock market looks great. All-time highs almost. I think it's almost 39,000. It went down a little bit, whatever. But if you take a look at the stock market, it definitely does not represent the physical economy. Tremendous turmoil is on the horizon, and the American people are becoming increasingly emotional about our rapidly growing economic problems. On Wednesday, we learned that prices jumped even more than expected during the month of March, and that would have been the CPI. Inflation jumped all the way up to 3.5% from the same time last year. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a huge print. And they correctly state here that if prices were only rising 3.5% annually, that would be good news. If you go to the stores, you know that prices are not rising at 3.5%. My favorite oil, or what used to be my favorite oil at Costco, had another price jump. Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. From $50, a month ago, to now $67, I think it is. And when I started buying this oil at Costco like 3 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago, whatever it was when they first opened, it was $20 for this exact same size 2 containers of oil that you see here. And they say here that everyone realizes that the way that the government calculates inflation changes from year to year in order to favor the numbers that they want to show you. But in order to get a realistic idea of how much prices are rising, they actually went out and took a look at some specific categories, some of which the government doesn't even include in their CPI. This one right here, for example, is the price of energy. So in the last 3 years or so, the price of energy has gone up almost 37%. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you've received a 30% increase in your rate of pay or in your pay in the last 3 years, then you're doing pretty good, in my opinion. But I still think that you're not keeping up with inflation, even if you've gotten 37% raise in the last 3 years. And this is what I'm trying to warn you about, ladies and gentlemen, what they say right here. Of course, energy prices are going to go up a lot higher than they are right now. Housing has become insanely expensive as well. In fact, the average monthly mortgage on a newly purchased home has approximately doubled since Biden entered the White House. That is crazy, in just 3 or so years. How in the world can they possibly tell us with a straight face that inflation is on the low single digits if that is the case? It's because people have what I think is Stockholm syndrome. At least those people that continue to believe what these government pundits and mainstream media, which are pretty much government pundits, keep putting out. They keep putting out what they want you to hear. So you may not be doing very well, and they come out and say, "Whoa, the economy is doing great." It leads you to believe that it's just you that's not doing very well. But in fact, all your neighbors are not doing well at all. And listen to this about home insurance. A 71-year-old retiree in South Dakota says that his home insurance payment went up by 110% just in 1 year. And if you can't have home insurance and you have a mortgage, I believe, it depends on what bank you deal with, that they may revoke your mortgage and call it in. So what are people going to do when they can't afford their home insurance, ladies and gentlemen, especially if they have a mortgage? Hopefully this gentleman doesn't and can absorb that from his retirement, whatever it may be. He is worried that he is going to be forced out of his house if his home insurance premium continues to go up. The retiree who lives near Rapid City, South Dakota, has seen his annual coverage with American Family skyrocket almost 110%, from $1,665 to $3,500, ladies and gentlemen. That is criminal. He is on a fixed income, while his wife Valerie, 68, is still working to help cover the insurance bills. I've told you this several times, and I hope that by now you believe me, that inflation only hurts the working class and those that are on fixed incomes. Inflation does not hurt the rich. The rich, they love inflation because they own assets. You'll end up with a whole bunch of paper that's worth half or 1/3 of what it was worth when you actually earned it. So I'm not a financial advisor, but this is what I do in order to protect myself against inflation. First and foremost, your income, in my opinion, is what you can use to build wealth. Because if you're spending your income on paying the man, you're not going to be able to build wealth with your income because you don't have an income. You're just living hand to mouth. So for example, if you're debt free, if you're getting close to being debt free, pay off your bills so that you can use whatever income you have to then generate wealth, to be able to invest in something that will generate long-term wealth, to be able to change that fiat currency into things like gold and silver that retain their purchasing power, instead of letting it sit in the bank or letting it sit under your mattress so that it can burn away again through the power of inflation. It's an inferno that never stops, ladies and gentlemen, because as soon as it stops, the system falls. And as soon as the system falls, they, yes, you know who they are, they lose their power. I'm telling you right now that the next monetary system that we go into, the next real monetary system that we will be on for a generation or 2 or 3, will be metals based, or at the very minimum commodities based, because the people have lost all hope on this fiat currency system that they've taken advantage of and raped the people with for the last 110 years or so. If you don't want to get gold or silver because you can't eat it, then make sure that you turn some of those what will soon be worthless bills into real stuff. Get food stocked up. Get things that will add value to your life. Ask yourselves a question. If you don't have a water filtration system, and something happens where the water in your municipality is no good, how much value would a water filtration system add to your life in a time like that? It would add a lot of value to your life, and you may be even able to help your neighbors. Just giving you ideas. Again, if you have a full pantry, it's something that will for sure be a great investment, because if you go into your pantry now and you take a look at something that you bought a year ago, let's say a can of X, I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, that today that same can of X that you bought a year ago more than likely is a little bit higher than it was last year. And I like how a lot of these articles reference like fast food to show you how inflation is ravaging your purchasing power. But what I think about is when I go shopping at the grocery store and I take a look at the prices there, I ask myself, how in the world is someone going to be able to live on these prices? I already talked about this olive oil, but if you do the numbers, the increase in price on a percentage basis is a little more than 300% the original price. I used to buy this 15-pound bag of rice in the commissary for about $6 when I first got out of the Army and I worked on base still. Well, not anymore, ladies and gentlemen. For $6, instead of 15 pounds, now you get 5 pounds. The price of Mr. Tom's favorite mayo, Duke's, incredible. Take a look at this. Not only is there shrinkflation, but there's inflation in the price as well. I remember once upon a time being able to buy these sauce packets, you know, the powder sauce packets, for like 25 cents each. And every once in a while for 10 cents each, or 10 for $1 when they were on sale. Not anymore. I definitely did stock up on this stuffing. I couldn't believe this price, even though it's more than what they used to sell for regularly. Remember when you used to buy a box of stuffing for less than $1? And when they went on sale after the holidays, sometimes you got lucky and they were like 50 cents a box. Well, not anymore, ladies and gentlemen. And I remember these side dishes being things that we could pick up for 50 cents all the way up to $1. And these prices, ladies and gentlemen, these are commissary prices. Remember when Spam was about $2 for a 12-ounce can? Well, not anymore. $2.86 for a 7-ounce can. I got pretty lucky here a while back. I was able to get some Spam on the cheap because Costco had it on sale. Now I understand why it is that military service members, about 25% of them are on food stamps. The days of cheap living, ladies and gentlemen, they are over, and they are not coming back. I've heard of studies that say that when a family has to resort to spending 40% or more of their income on just basic nutrition, just basic food, that riots occur. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what's going to happen here. They know what's going on. Why do you think that our nation has been militarized to the point that it has? This system by which we are governed, not only the government, but the financial system as well. In its induction, they already knew that it was going to fail. I believe it was J.P. Morgan himself in front of Congress back in the early 1900s that told them paper cash is credit. The only money that there is gold. So he says gold is money, fiat is nothing but credit. And in him saying that, they should have known that the system would eventually collapse, because you cannot continue to fund credit with credit indefinitely. It's a huge Ponzi scheme, and every Ponzi scheme in the history of mankind has collapsed. Remember, 4 p.m. Alaska time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Hope to see you then. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.